Alrighty, folks, welcome to another episode of Yami Noob. Today, I'm talking sport bikes. I have a bit of a perception online as like the sport bike guy. Oh, this guy just loves going fast. He doesn't know anything other than his crazy fast motorcycles. And you know what? They're kind of right. I love fast bikes. I've loved fast bikes since I was a kid. And if you're thinking about sport bikes and you want to know what I wish I knew before I got my first sport bikes and just anything about that, it's that the feeling never goes away, baby! If you're about that life and you like going fast, it's always going to be with you. Super sports give a very specific feeling that no other bike replicates, man. Especially the more race-derived versions. Now, this R9 that I'm on is pretty fun. It's nice. It's got a good amount of torque. But I'm talking top-shelf stuff. Your Panigale V4s, your BMW S1000RRs, even though it's not one of my favorites, R1s, you know, just the real deal spicy race bike stuff. It never gets old. I think what happens is, you know, once you become an old timer, you know, ancient to the Zoomers by the time you're 35, I would say. You've been riding for at least 10, 15, 20 years, something like that, and you've done sport bikes a whole lot. You can appreciate their performance from the perspective of, you know, oh, okay, like, if I get on a highway and I get to gun it, that's awesome. If I go on track, that's awesome. It's not something you want all the time. And I think that's why a lot of guys end up, you know, if they have that itch for speed, that need for speed, there's a lot of go fast, comfortable bikes out there. Your H2 SXs, your, I guess, 1100 Ninjas, the new Ninja SX. I mean, there's plenty of go fast bikes. If we go back in the catalog, there's plenty of bikes that are fast. And you end up with something a little bit more comfortable. I mean, that's why the hyper naked category is popping off right now. It's a lot of 45-year-old guys who don't want to give it up yet, because it's really hard to give it up if you really love it. I vividly remember my first ride on the Daytona 675. It felt like a rocket ship. It was high, it was aggressive. It just felt like the most rigid, insane thing I had ever been on in my whole life. And I was like, I want this all the time. If I could just bottle this up and take a shot of it every morning, then that's going to make my life complete. And what happens is, over time, you experiment with harder and harder motorcycles, and the thrill has to be exceeded each and every time. And for me personally, what happened was I went on track the first time in 2016, I think was my very first track day, and I realized what the bikes were meant to do and the environment they were meant to be in. And here's the thing, like, super sports give you a really special feeling on road because they feel really cool to ride. They got the fairings, everything's really nice on them, you know. But man, when you're on track and you got your elbow on the deck and you're flying through an apex and you nail it over the candy stripes, oh Lord, there ain't a feeling better than that in the world, baby. That is the best feeling. And once I realized that I couldn't get that feeling on road, I was like, yeah, I think I'm done with sport bikes on the street. This just doesn't make sense, other than going really fast on the highway, which, look, sometimes I'm not above it, you know? Like, if I got a really powerful bike, I'm not going to record myself doing it usually, but I've been known to dabble and, you know, go out and have some fun on the highway. I mean, I owned a Turbo Hayabusa, for God's sake. It ain't my first rodeo. So that's the thing, man. It never leaves you. It never, ever leaves you. And you just, once you get that feeling, it's there forever. And then you're stuck. You're cursed to have this addiction, and nothing else will make it hit. I've known guys who go on track or even on road with like high-performance cars, and they're like, dude, it's not the same. I'm like, I know it's not the same, because you're in this cage that's not even that fast versus being on a literal rocket ship out exposed in the elements, using your body as a sail in the wind while you break into corners. Dude, there's nothing like it. It's so good. It's so good. But I just reserve it for track stuff now. I don't really do that kind of stuff on the street because it's basically impossible. This is what my sport bike riding on the street nowadays looks like. If I got some visibility, I'll open it up a little bit, but I just don't really care. And I got nothing to prove to anybody. All right, the next thing I wish I knew, and before I got into sport bikes and all that sort of stuff, is that it's much more expensive. So when I got started with my first big boy sport bikes and all that, I wasn't making a ton of money, you know. I was sort of freshly out of college. I think I was like a year into my first big boy job. back in like 2015. And, you know, bike payment, tires, chains, speeding tickets, insurance. I mean, it certainly adds up, and you definitely need a good amount of disposable income to truly enjoy sport bikes. Whether you do it responsibly on track or irresponsibly like I did on road, you'll get crashes, you'll get, speeding tickets. Not to say that you'll always crash, but it's pretty likely when you're 22 and you have a 120 horsepower motorcycle that you're going to crash the damn thing. And so, yeah, I kind of wish that I'd played it maybe a little bit smarter financially. I mean, it all worked out. You're here watching this video, so I got a pretty decent life going for me. Which, by the way, this R9's a giveaway bike. You like that segue right there? Go to the website. Check it out. I've given away 68 motorcycles. I know it's hard for me to believe. What will number 69 be? We should do something weird or different for 69. But anyways, if you become a member over on the website, I can't promise you that you will receive, eternal glory. But I'm on the Discord server, so if you want to hang out and talk to me, I'm pretty available on there. All you got to do is just knock on the door, and then I'll go, hey, what's up? What do you need? What's going on? And everyone in the community is really helpful, too. So honestly, for me, I think that's worth the price of admission alone. But you also get a chance to win an awesome giveaway motorcycle, and you get discounts on our store. You get discounts on your Twisted Road rentals, exclusive content. It's a good time. You also get behind-the-scenes access to nearly everything we're doing here. And we always have some cool stuff that's cooking down the pipeline. So hit that link and check it out. So the feeling never leaves you. It's expensive. And the other thing I wanted to talk about is that kind of like that hard drugs thing, right? I kind of joked about that, but it is kind of true. Once you start down this path of big power, everything starts to get really warped and messed up. So there was a time in 2022 where my rotation, this is like, that meme of like nightmare blunt rotation. This is like dream blunt rotation. I don't smoke weed, but that's just a funny meme. The dream blunt rotation I had going on in my motorcycle stable, these are the 3 bikes I was riding the most, okay? You ready? It was Ducati Street Fighter V4S, 200 plus horsepower naked bike. It was a Turbo Hayabusa with well over 300 horsepower dynoed to the tire, 160 foot-pounds of torque, and an H2 that had E85 tune and was making well over 300 as well, fully prepped motorcycle for the Texas Mile. Those were the 3 motorcycles I was riding pretty regularly. It got so absurd that there was a time that I was swapping between the Turbo Boost and the H2 and for like a week straight. And then I went back to the Street Fighter V4S and I thought to myself, man, this thing's kind of slow. It's a sickness, dude. It is a sickness when you have this addiction to speed. Because nothing scratches it, man. Nothing scratches it like a big, high horsepower motorcycle. There really is nothing like it. I'm really happy I got a lot of that out of my system early in life. I don't know what would happen. Well, actually, I guess it was worse that I got it out of my system when I was earlier in life. Because if I had been 40 years old, well, nothing ever happened with me in the Turbo Boost or the H2. I didn't even get a speeding ticket, never crashed them. So I guess I was responsible enough to wield them. But yeah, I would say if you're trying to get a high horsepower motorcycle, a leader bike for sure, wait until you're at least 25, 26. I really don't think it's responsible to put a leader bike in the hands of a 19 or 20-year-old kid. I've seen way too many sad stories, man, especially lately where they get highly publicized through TikTok and Instagram and YouTube and stuff. Way too many stories where some young kid on a leader bike died at 20 years old. It's too sad, man. It's too sad. And just don't get the leader bike until your prefrontal cortex is fully developed. How about that? Big fancy word for you today. The other thing that I would like to tell you about sport bikes that I kind of wish I knew before I got into them hardcore is they have a very specific way in which they want to be ridden. What do I mean by that? Not only the engine itself, right, because most sport bikes have high revving engines and you need to keep them up in the power band for them to even behave correctly, because they literally design the damn thing so that the bike works best when the engine is spinning at a certain RPM. This is a really weird and specific example, but if you've ever owned like an R6 or a ZX6 and you've taken it on track or you've taken it racing, next time you do this for me, because I noticed this when I took a ZX6 out on track. There's a huge difference between the way the bike behaves when the motor is like highly up in the revs and spinning and you're carving corners, because it's literally doing the thing it was designed to do, versus if you lug the engine and try to take it at the same speed. The bike behaves completely differently. And that's also the same on road too. The bikes just simply work better when you have them higher up in the rev range. And that's why I think the ZX4 is really cool, because you get to use the bike in the rev range and not go to jail immediately. You know, even an R6, if you're really using second and third gear on street, you're going to go to jail, dude. Like, if you're riding these kind of roads pinned in second and third gear truly near the red line, nah, buddy, you're going to jail if someone catches you. And then leader bikes, we're not even going to talk about that, right? The literally red line at like 90 miles an hour in first gear is just absurd what they do. So we're not even going to talk about that. So you gotta keep the revs up, because it literally makes the bike handle differently. I know that sounds crazy, but it actually does. And then the second point that I wanted to make is that you gotta actually ride them differently. You got to squeeze the tank with your knees. That's why tank grips help so much. You lighten the grip on your bars. It's a bit of a myth that you just like have like this little, light grip on the bars and you barely just like, dabble them a little bit. If you're actually riding the damn bike, you're squeezing those bars, you're pushing them, you're muscling the bike around. But you have a light arm, right? Like, if you guys see my arms right now, I'm not stiff, I'm nice and light, and that gives me good control over the brakes and the ability to just stay nice and light on the machine and ride it the way it's supposed to, because sport bikes are very sensitive to inputs. They carve corners really aggressively, really quickly. They have steep brake angles, so any small push to the bars and the thing just falls right into corners. If you're used to riding cruisers or something with a more raked out front end, you'll be shocked at how quickly a sport bike just dips into a turn. The tires are a very pronounced V shape up at the front typically, and the bike just wants to fall right over into corners. Like you'll see here, this bike just like whoop, whoop, whoop. Like it just wants to. I'm doing the Instagram thing. Don't they come up to the cars, like they go like this, right? And then they go. It's all the guys that can't hold a balance point wheelie. They're like, I gotta do something, I guess. So yeah, sorry for looking like an Instagram squid, boys. I'm not wearing the right helmet for it. So yeah, you can't really ride these bikes like you would other motorcycles. And honestly, I've ridden, over 200 motorcycles at this point in 13 different countries. Not to humble brag, but a little bit of a humble brag. And every bike demands you to ride it slightly different. Once you figure out its happy place in the rev range, how the inputs relate to how the bike handles, all of them work basically the same. They all have front brakes. Most of them do anyways. Most modern motorcycles have front brakes, and you load the front end when you're going into corners, and the throttle twists in one direction, like all that stuff's the same, but you just have to find the picadillos, the peculiarities of each motorcycle, and dial them in and ride them the way they want to be ridden. So sport bikes, they're just like that. You got to keep them up the rev range. They handle really aggressively, and there's certainly something to be said for appreciating what a sport bike can do, regardless of how uncomfortable it is. So I don't really ride sport bikes on street anymore, other than for the giveaways and the Yami Noob channel. My personal motorcycle riding is all stuff on my adventure bike. So every time I get on a sport bike, maybe it's like once a week for a video, it's a real treat because it's super different than the bike that I ride. But I also remind myself that I am really not about this life anymore. This is firmly in the past for me, because I find it to be very uncomfortable. But I really respect and appreciate what the machine can do. Like, you have so much precision over the machine, and the bike just wants to do one thing, and it's disgusting. Come on, boys. A out Yami Noob and a 3-cylinder engine. Oh, we're taking it back to 2017 with that one. Yeah, just, I don't know, man. They just scratch an itch. They just feel so good. And I will definitely always have a sport bike in my stable. It's either going to be a track-ready motorcycle that I take out once a month and have some fun with and get the demons out. Or, I've been thinking lately, I'm like, maybe I could add something, spicy and fast and fun, but a little bit more upright and comfortable that I can just bomb around town with. I don't want anything long distance because that's my Tuareg, but, a spicy naked bike, maybe I'm ready for that in my life. I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure. So, sport bikes can do amazing things. They're extremely enjoyable to ride, but you just got to know what they're about and what they want, and really respect and appreciate them for what they can do. You shouldn't ride a sport bike expecting a cruiser. You shouldn't ride a sport bike expecting comfort. they're designed to do one thing, and it's just rail around corners and go really fast. And if you can appreciate that, then you're going to have a great time owning them. And it's the type of thing where you either get it or you don't. You know, I remember when I first rode the Daytona way back in the day in 2015, I knew immediately I wanted that forever. Like I said, I was like, bottle this up and sell it to me. I will pay whatever you want. But there's a lot of people, like producer Logan, you know, he'll ride a sport bike and he feels nothing. He's like, this isn't for me. I don't really get this. I don't want to do this, you know? And that's totally cool. But I would implore you that if you are a bit of a speed freak, if you like track days, if you like that sort of thing, if you like racing, you know, if you've never tried a sport bike, dude, try it. It's super cool. It's super rewarding. They're very specific, but they are very much dialed in for what they need to do. All right, boys, with that, I want to wrap it up for today. Thanks for enjoying my little spiel here, my little vlog. Kicking it kind of old school today with you boys. And hope you check out the website down below, support the show. I really do appreciate it. It's the reason why I get to do anything here on YouTube, really. We have good viewership, but really it's the members on the website and the community and all the support we get on there. Honestly, we couldn't do it without you guys. And for all of you supporting, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. We try to give back as much as we can with the best content, with the best giveaways.